What's up, guys? We are back on the 5.3 that's going into 96. It's been a while since I've worked on the block. I decided to port and polish my heads. Something I'd never done before. There's not a video on that. I'll show you how they turned out in a little bit. If you want to do your heads, if you're interested in doing something like that, Headflow Inc. has a ton of videos. I basically followed his videos in doing my own heads. It's not something I've ever done before, not something I was comfortable showing you guys how to do. It's a very lengthy process. I don't know that it was really necessary. It's just a process that I've always been intrigued by and really wanted to try it. And I was like, well, here's an opportunity to port a set of heads on something that I'm not really trying to make a ton of power out of. So if it helps, awesome. If not, it was a learning experience, I guess. So, but today, what we're doing is actually putting the heads on the block. I gotta go pick up a oil pan. I'm supposed to be picking up an oil pan sometime today. A Holley, I think the part number is a 302-1 or 302-2, super low profile oil pan that I'm gonna run. So heads on, oil pan on, put the crank pulley on, tighten up the crank, the front timing cover, valve covers, those have been cleaned up. I'm going to paint those. The intake manifold can be set down on it. So hopefully by the end of this video, this will be, or by the end of the day, by the end of the video it will be complete. But whether or not that happens today, we shall see. Alright, so this thing sat for a while because I put the rotating assembly together, parked the engine while I was working on the heads. So I flopped the cylinders out where the pistons were down, and now I'm going to go and put just a light coat of oil in every hole, and then I'll rotate it around so I can get the ones that are, the pistons are up, just so that on the initial startup the walls aren't dry and the oil will help the rings seal. You got to be careful doing this part. You don't want to be searching around trying to find the dowels, scratching the head all up. Okay, here we go. I usually just kind of start with the head up, and then you can see where the dowels are. Then just drop it on. Alright, I'm going to run these down by hand. I know a lot of guys are just taking an electric impact or whatever and run it down, but I really want to feel the threads as I'm running these in case something feels off. Okay, so now they're all ran in by hand, and of course, as soon as I turn the camera off, the next bolt I go to do, I hit a point where it just stopped, pull the bolt back out, hit that hole with a little bit of brake clean and some compressed air, blew out, I don't know, just looked kind of rusty and dirty from it sitting, and then the same thing with that one. And the biggest thing is, something that I didn't mention before, the worst thing that could happen would be you hit something near the bottom and it gives you a false torque reading, so you're not actually pulling torque, but you've hit something and the torque wrench is reading, and in reality the bolt's just, you know, there's crap in the hole and it's stopping your bolt from going down or whatever. It's easy to tell. I mean, your common sense tells you if your bolt's sticking out that far and you fit your torque spec, there's probably a problem. Okay, so now we have to do angle torque, and the torque wrench that I have obviously reads angle torque, but something that I started doing from doing this over the last couple of years on BMWs, and everything is angle torque. I mean everything. Once you hit your initial torque, I'll take a Sharpie and draw a straight line across all the bolts, and this way I can easily look at a bolt and know if that one's been torqued, because yeah, I'm going to go through it in a sequence, but I mean, all it takes is somebody to walk through the door and go, hey, what are you doing? And I stop and go, oh, well, I was in the middle of torquing these head bolts and now I don't know where I was at. which sucks. So I just draw a straight line straight across, and then the first torque spec's 90 degrees, so then it'll go 90, and then the next rotation 90 again, so then they go back to straight across. So if you're doing this without a digital torque wrench or some way to do angle torque, you can mark them straight and just use the line as your indicator. So you'll, I mean, 90 is pretty easy. Put your ratchet on it and it's straight out here, and you swing it down here, that's 90 degrees. But the Sharpie marks definitely help you keep all that straight. Okay, so here we go, 90 degrees. Okay, now one more time I'm going to go over these. Alright, so I got this head torqued down now. I didn't bore you with repeating that process. It's exactly the same as the other side. And now what I need to do is put in the push rods, the rocker arms, torque all that stuff down, and then we're ready for valve covers. But before that, I'm going to paint these valve covers. And as I was taping some of this stuff up that I don't want to get paint on, I remembered a trick from a video that, actually it was a TikTok, that DeWatt sent me. So check this out. If you're doing something like this where you got hard edges, put your tape over it, take a little hammer, look at that. That's awesome. So yeah, just thought I'd show you guys that. I'm going to hit these with some VHT wrinkle paint. There's quite a few videos out there about how to use this stuff. Basically you put like 3 coats on it, and then the last coat you hit it with a heat gun, and that's what really gives it the wrinkle finish. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back to put in push rods. Okay, valve covers are over there drying, and now we're going to put in push rods. These are brand new Brian Tooley Racing push rods, and I'm going to put just a little bit of assembly lube on the bottom as I'm putting them in. Alright, so here is a clear demonstration of the difference between the truck oil pan on the left and this Holley oil pan, which is sitting on the right. And that is a 302-1 part number. They do a 302-2, which is a slightly different shape at the back and it's shallower at the front. If you run that one, you have to run either an F-body windage tray or modify your stock truck style windage tray. Apparently the H3 Hummer oil pan is also a good option. It's a little bit cheaper than the Holley, but me and Casey both picked up one of these Holley pans from a guy here local to us. Super nice guy, so we got to meet him and hang out with him a little while yesterday, talk to him. He's big into LS swapping a bunch of stuff, so that was super cool. So we picked up a couple of pans. These things are brand new in the box. So it comes with the pickup, the pan, no gasket. You still have to get your own gasket. Oil pan's on and torqued. I don't think I recorded the last half of that. Sorry. You missed that. I'm sure it's not as exciting as what you think it might have been. So now let's see about extending these injector connectors. So the problem here is this was originally a truck harness, and a truck harness is designed to run over top of the intake manifold, and then your injector connectors and everything come off of that. And what I want to do is run everything under the intake manifold, because that car intake has nothing to attach the harness to on the top. It's going to take a little more work than what I thought it was going to. We're extending the wires for the connectors for the alternator and the throttle position sensor and idle air control valve. So I made wire extensions that are 14 inches long, because that's what I determined I needed. And now I'm just going through here one wire at a time, cutting and adding length of wire. This way there's no confusion, because there's a lot of similar colors in here. And I'm using these non-insulated butt connectors. Basically it's just like a barrel style connector, and then you put them on, crimp them, and then slide a piece of heat shrink over it. And the heat shrink that I have is weatherproof, so it's got like a sealer inside of it, so when you crimp it or when you heat it, it melts and squishes out to make your connections watertight, which is super cool. Alright, there we go. That's it. You can see what, it just doesn't add a whole lot of bulk to the harness when you're doing it that way. Now I just need to get another piece of loom to extend this all the way back, but until then I'm going to get the intake manifold off and test fit this and see if it all fits the way I want it to. Alright, so I'll show you guys what I've been doing. I got the injector harness all cut down and tucked away on this side, the driver's side. Don't pay any attention to these, this is just here for mock-up. So basically what I ended up doing was I got the first injector wire, because I had to change the connectors on the end. I cut it down, hooked it up, got the wire length the way I wanted it, and just got that one done and hooked up, and then went to the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. So this way I didn't have too much or too little wire when I got to one injector or another. So yeah, I'm super happy with how that turned out. I mean, it's, they got to be there, but it's pretty well hidden. I can actually get this on the other side of the rail, so it's kind of underneath, and then the wires will just out to each one of them. So now I got to do the same thing over here, because this truck style harness, there's just a lot more length here than what there needs to be. So I'll do that, trim it down, and I think we'll be set. Alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up the engine build part of this series. As you can see, I got all the injector connector harness trimmed down. I like the way this looks. Fits in here a lot nicer and cleaner. So basically what you see here, with the exception of putting the coil packs back on it, is how it'll look. That's all the wire that there will be at the front. Everything else will come off the back. And what I'm thinking about doing is trying to loom what's left of the factory Jeep harness and this harness, just loom it together so it looks like there's only one harness in the engine bay. So we'll see how that goes. So the next part of this that you'll see will be us getting ready to put this in there. We've already got the engine out of my Jeep, so I got to get it cleaned up, and I've started going over the wiring harness that's in the Jeep to see what I can cut out, what I need to keep. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. We'll be glad to help you guys out. Or if you have any suggestions, maybe you've done this before and you've got some input for us, we'd love to hear that from you too. So thanks for watching, guys, and maybe one day we'll see you out on the trail. Peace. And that is, oh my God, I've scuffed my paint.
Not that though, you go to heating it up. You don't heat your paint up.
Well, it'll be fine. It'll be like powder coat at that point.
Will it?
Yeah.
Or will it turn more of a brown color?
No, I'm not gonna heat the whole thing up.
Yeah, but you're gonna heat the and I know how you are with something that you can't even see. It's gonna drive you crazy at night in the bed.
We're gonna heat this thing up.